Battle of the Challenges podcast with Vincent Cloud.
And Famous Dave.
And this is the Challenge USA Episode 1 recap. First of all, let's get your first impressions.
I'm really excited for this season. The reason I'm excited is probably the same reason a lot of people are like leery of it and are not excited, is because there's no like old challengers. There's not like the familiar faces. It's like a completely new cast of people from Survivor, Big Brother, and Love Island. But people are upset because you don't have CT or Bananas or some of the the people we're used to seeing.
Yeah.
But that's kind of why I'm excited, is because we don't know any of these people. Because a lot of times on the challenge, almost it seems it goes back 10 or more years. All the times on the challenge, you always have the veterans, and then they're always trying to pick off the rookies and vote in the rookies. And you go through that same thing over and over every season. But now, since everybody's new, you kind of just are going off of their alliances from their previous shows and their previous relationships. And I don't really know those as well. I know some of the Survivor people, but I don't know the Big Brother or Love Island people. So
Amazing Race?
Oh, Amazing Race, too. I've seen the show, but I don't know any of these people.
Yeah, me neither.
But it's exciting because, I don't know. I don't know what the heck's going to happen. Like, I have no idea who's a real favorite and who's not. I have a few people that I think are favorites from Survivor, but there's going to be a lot of dark horses that are going to come out of nowhere for me, and I'm not going to see it coming.
All of that is like, okay, that's what makes it exciting. The current alliances. Usually, I say it doesn't matter where you're from, because we'll see how you perform in the challenge. But the challenge is, in a way, having to deal with CT and Bananas. Having to deal with fucking Anissa, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's part of the challenge because they're there all the goddamn time. So now, none of that is there, and it's exciting for 4 gigantic shows coming together and seeing how that plays out. But, I just thought of this right now. With the algorithm, like how you can never play with the same person more than once or twice,
yeah,
or whatever. Does that kind of ruin the possibilities? Because now they have to intermingle. I feel like they're almost, yeah. That's how I'm seeing it now. Where it's like, 4 different continents, 4 different, like, gonna work against each other, and now they're going to be working together systematically. It's almost like putting a hat on a hat, Dave.
I think it could. I think it'll add some excitement to it because it's more of an unknown, and you're going to have people, working together with people that they normally wouldn't. So that kind of allows people from Love Island to meet people from Survivor, and then to kind of get alliances that way.
Which they need. Love Island. You guys are on an island. You're on.
I feel like what's going to happen once TJ revealed that twist at the end of the episode, I feel like now, because they're going to be constantly switching partners every mission, there's a lot more incentive to just put in the people that you think are the weakest competitors, because you never want to be paired up with someone who's considered a weak competitor. So which is kind of different than what you see in Survivor a lot of times, in like the newer seasons of Survivor. In the beginning, they'll get rid of some of the weak players, but like once you're like halfway through the season of Survivor, they just start picking off all the strong people as much as possible, because they're like, well, the jury's really going to like this person because they're really good at the game, so I just need to vote off so-and-so because he's really good at the game. And I always kind of hated that about Survivor, how they vote off the people who are the best competitors, and then you get, to the final 3, and you're like, well, I don't really like any of these 3 people.
Shit. Yeah, there's that, and this is also, it's good because, what was it, Double Agents or Spies, Lies, and Allies, where like Anissa was with Fessy, and Fessy was like, I don't want to be with you. But Anissa's like, I don't care. A couple missions later, she wins him back, or she takes him back, or she steals him back, and he left her again. People wanted him over her. So that would have been good. Where you can't go back or you can't repeat. That's pretty sweet. Although, I guess, eventually, if it's not possible, and you do get the same person, you won't get them 2 times in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that part?
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, holy shit. That's the very sandwiched version of what we're going to talk about today. So let's get into the details. Maybe some personality pops up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Okay, first of all, right away, TJ, he's like, hey man, $1,000 each. Everybody gets $1,000. This is the account. Turns out, from what I could tell, you need $6,000 to pay for the final. Is that how desperate that's how low
to
the
get
production?
into TJ's final? TJ he's putting a price.
Yeah, that's because they can't afford it, right? They're like, holy shit, this is like a potluck. You have to bring something to the final, and that's you have to pay for the helicopter rides, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I kind of like this idea because it's similar to like a Red Skull where it's like, okay, you need a skull to be in TJ's final.
Okay.
But instead of that, they're like, hey, you can earn money just by winning a mission. So if you can win a mission, you can earn your way into a final. You don't have to necessarily go into elimination. So it gives you incentive to stay out of the eliminations, you know? It's not, well, you know what? It's my time. I got to go in at some point. So it's none of that. So it's a good little twist on that, I think.
Are we putting targets on people the more money they get?
Possibly.
And now the other question is, apparently $6,000 to pay for the final. So is this actually one of the best things to do ever? Where like, if you don't win a mission at all, you can't afford $5,000 to get into the final? At least one mission win?
Well, then you'd probably have to go into an elimination, and if you beat someone in an elimination, do you get all of their money?
You do.
You
yes.
do? Okay. So even if you don't win a mission, you could still go into an elimination, and you have to beat someone who has made money.
So I think this is a good thing. I think maybe this is what should have been in the actual challenge. I don't want to dislike Challenge USA. We're like, oh, this is for a bunch of newbies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you don't really know the real goddamn challenge. But I think with needing to win enough money, which basically comes down to $5,000 on top of your 1,000, because who wins this mission? It's Tyson and something, right? Someone? Ashley, maybe?
Yeah, I forget the name.
They win $5,000 each, and they could go to the final because they have $6,000 now. So, yeah, you got to win a mission at least, and that would always wipe out Anissa. Well, no, give her a puzzle, right?
Or if she's paired with Fessy, she might be able to do something.
Either way, I think this is a good thing overall. This is some good stuff. But the other part of this is, and we had our own questions. This is the Challenge USA. The winners are going to represent USA versus 3 other countries in a global tournament style challenge. Our question was, why is USA taking place in Argentina? Where are the other 3 countries taking place? And what are the 3 countries? Do you know?
I have no idea.
I don't remember anymore. Shit.
I'm guessing like UK, right?
Okay.
So that's 1. Maybe Brazil?
Yeah, I want to say Brazil. I want to say Brazil. And then who else? Who's out there?
Probably not Russia or Ukraine. Could rule those out.
2.
Maybe Japan? I don't know.
No, that would stick out to me. I don't know. Whatever. Germany. Wait, that's not a country.
Germany is a country.
Too soon for the World War II. All right. Well, anyways.
So, like, when they do like the battle of all the winners of all these seasons, it's probably going to be like all the teams that made it to the final, right? You know, so there'll be like 6 people from each season or something.
So you got to get to the final to be part of Team USA, basically?
I would think so, right? Because you can't just have the winners and you have 2 people from each season. That doesn't seem like enough.
No. I mean, that can work. I like that idea, but at the same time, you have to think of all the people that are gonna, all the good people that should represent Team USA are gonna be voted out because the person is like, I don't want to run a final with that person. Mm-hmm. I'm not thinking of my place representing USA. I'm thinking of winning this particular one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I hope that maybe the winners and the finalists, they can cherry pick previous players to represent USA.
Oh.
That would be nice.
They can... So like the winners, like the best guy and the best girl, they can choose like their all-star squad.
Yeah.
So like in the NBA, when they do the NBA All-Star Weekend, you have like the MVP from the Eastern Conference is Giannis, and then you have LeBron James from the Western Conference, and then they can choose their squad that they're going to play with.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what they started doing that in the NBA a couple years ago. It's where you get, they're the team captain. They get to pick the players on their team, which is really interesting in the NBA because like people's feelings get hurt, and there's lots of sensitive egos, and you have players that like Giannis doesn't like James Harden, so he's just never going to pick James Harden to be on his team because they used to have a rivalry.
Oh shit!
So it was interesting.
Okay. No, yeah. And
I like that idea.
Yeah, this could be. Hopefully, you can build a team because I think of it as like UFC Ultimate Fighter version where it's like, yeah, you can win and you'll win the contract, but there's plenty of people who are still going to be signed to the UFC even though they lost the tournament.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah. So hopefully they can build a solid team after say fucking Tyson wins this whole fucking thing. Because there's a lot of hype on that dude. Suppose he wins and he gets the money, but now he has to build a team, and he'll be like, "This person I sent home, they deserve to be here. They're very good. I just didn't want to run against them and shit like that." So that's what would be great.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty awesome. Do you think, this is just crazy conspiracy Dave, do you think there's any possibility that when they do like the final season, whenever they have all 4 seasons and then they're all going to meet up in one final tournament or season, do you think that there'll be like a sudden 5th team where TJ is like, this team has Bananas and CT.
Oh my god.
And we have Cara Maria.
Holy
and like they have, they just draw in another team that's just like the challengers, that were left off of the seasons. And then all of a sudden, instead of like 4 teams, you have a 5th team, and it's all just like the OG challengers.
That'd be fantastic. God damn it.
That would
amazing.
Be cool.
What's sad is that's probably not going to happen. We're like, oh, god damn it. Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't that be fucking amazing?
I think it could happen. I think Bananas would do it. I think CT would do it.
It's like the Olympics meets American Gladiators.
Yeah.
That's funny. God damn it. Well, anyways, let's get on to reality, right? All right. Let's talk about the orange bunk beds.
Because they look like barracks in a prison?
They look like, what's the store with the hardware and the house supplies?
Home Depot?
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah. We got it straight from Home Depot.
Yeah.
I didn't know they had bunk beds there, but apparently they do. Got a lot of them.
No, not bunk beds. Where they stack shit. Have you ever been to a Home Depot?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. I don't know, man. That's what I saw.
You think they put them together with forklifts?
Well, this thing was thrown together. Remember the old Challenge House remember that house? It was like, that is barely clinging on, and this is where they're living at. But apparently now they're in an abandoned warehouse somewhere in Argentina. And it's kind of decked out, kind of like the fucking, that bomb shelter they were in for Double Agents. Or Total Madness, I think it was. But no, orange bunk beds, man.
Yeah, I was a little worried about it when I saw their house at first. I was like, oh, they're all just going to be trapped in this basement together. But once we were outside and saw the mission, I saw what it looked like outside, and it looks like this beautiful city. It's nice and sunny. I'm like, okay, all right. I'm like, because the problem with Double Agents was they were just stuck in that bunker, and the weather was not good outside, and they never really seemed to leave the bunker. So like the whole season, it was just kind of looked doom and gloom. Was it like in Iceland or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Where was like bad weather all the time.
Was that the one with the dome? They had to go to the dome to have the bar?
Yeah.
Or was that something else?
I think that was the season. And they would act like they're leaving to go somewhere fun, but they're really just like walking outside the door and then into another door right over there.
2 separate seasons, I remember. But I remember the dome being cold. And they would be like, whoa, as they're taking shots. They're like, we have to take shots to feel warmer, even though it doesn't do that at all.
They pretend that there's music playing when there wasn't.
Oh my god, yeah, that's terrible. Jesus Christ. They just bang on pots and pans. They fly Tina in to do her thing. Yeah. All right, moving on. What do I have written down? Everyone's talking about the cookout from Big Brother.
I have no idea what they were talking about.
Okay, so this was so weird because this alliance was brought up in articles. Like, randomly, they're like, Big Brother does this. I'm like, what? Who cares? It's an alliance. But it might be because it was an all-black, all-African-American alliance that formed together. And I think that's why people were like, well, you can't do that. And to me, I'm like, people do it all the time. What? Who cares? You know.
It's like Black Panther Party.
There might have been. I think it was the racial edge where they were just like, "Oh my god, what are they talking about? Like, why can't we be involved and shit like that?" You know. I might not be black, but you know, I believe in you guys. Why can't I join? You know, shit like that.
You know, even in WWF, they had the Nation of Domination, where it was like all the black people. But then at one point, you know who got in there? Owen Hart. They let him in there. Did it make sense? Not really. But you know what? He joined it for a couple months.
Owen Hart was a brother of Bret Hart. So.
Yeah. A
like,
different kind of brother.
Count it.
You know, close enough. Brother adjacent.
All right. But basically, I am familiar with Big Brother just because my oddly enough, my younger brother, my little brother, was like, hey, Big Brother, let's watch Big Brother. And I'm like, what the fuck? You're talking in circles. Stop it.
This is like a who's on first, what's on second.
So anyways, we watched this particular season, and I recognize a lot, like Derek, what's her name? But I do remember the cookout. And they were like, man, we're just going to form this solid-ass alliance. And they just happened to be all black. I don't know. So, whatever. But that was a big thing. It made news. But it's like, people form alliances all together. I think it's just that racial edge that, yeah.
So they did that somewhat similarly on Survivor. I don't remember what season it was. But it was very recent. I think it was like either in the fall of 2020 or the beginning of 2021. And it was a lot. It was, you know, after all, like the BLM protests and like the George Floyd thing, and there was an alliance that was all black people, and I remember one of the chicks saying like, you know what, I just feel more comfortable, you know, being in an alliance with people who look like me, and I'm like, you know, this, you know, it's like you're tiptoeing on a line where it's just like, I don't know. It was kind of weird. But in that season, like, there was an alliance and they were all black. But then, like, in typical Survivor fashion, they change up the teams and your tribe, and you know, it didn't last but more than a couple weeks, and then it was kind of fractured, and you know, everything kind of just went its own way.
Yeah. You know, I will say this while we're on the subject slightly. Perhaps, we had that. We had versions of that in the actual challenge.
Yeah.
But in the actual challenge, we would see countless African American individuals go into first eliminations or many eliminations until they were done. used as weapons in the eliminations. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So
Brandon would get voted in every week.
Oh yeah.
And like Brandon's like the most chill, nice guy ever. So he didn't really like say anything about it, but like everyone was kind of aware, like this is kind of bullshit.
All right. Well, anyways, the whole point out of all that is that it's being brought up a lot. The Big Brother have a lot of numbers outside of the cookout, because the cookout has 4 people in it, and there was at least 2 or 3 people left out of it. Even though they were all friends, it wasn't until the very end that they realized they weren't part of this thing called the cookout. So that is one of the main things about Big Brother. That's about the only thing that really pops up.
Yeah, I remember one of the girls from Big Brother. I don't remember her name, but she was talking about like, yeah, we were in this alliance together, but then right at the end, they got rid of me. And she's still, is holding a grudge a little bit.
Yeah. What was her name? Shit.
I'm really bad with all the names.
Yeah. They're all new, basically.
Yeah.
Even the ones I recognize, I don't remember the fucking names. Let's move on. All right? The next thing I have is the actual mission itself. Down to do the math. $10,000 if you win it. And you can afford the final. I have a question. Is it going to be? Nope, dropping it. We already established that in the earlier part. Never mind.
Huh? What?
I'm rusty. I was gonna go on a tirade where it's like, okay, you can afford to go to the final now, but does that mean that you have to win a mission? Or yeah, we covered all this shit.
Yeah.
That's why I like to follow the script, as you like to say, even though it's not a script. I want to post the picture of my notes to show it's not a script, Dave.
Well, it seems like you were following the script so diligently that we've gotten off track.
If you can't get up, if you mess with the math, you're lowering down 22 flights of stairs, you gotta come up with the math, churn the thing. If you don't get it right, you have to run up those stairs and do it again. It's fucked up, right? And they have a last place. If you get last place, you go into elimination, which I think never gets tiring. I think overall that should be included because you get rid of the riffraff.
Yeah. Whatever team is last place should always go in.
You get rid of even though I like Katie, you get rid of the Katies, where they're not really here to play. They're here to drink and shit like that. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So I'm not like a huge fan of like math when it comes to like the challenges, and they've just been doing it more and more recently, and it's just been bugging me more and more. Especially like in the finals when they're like, hey, all right, you got some math to do, and then it's I prefer the puzzles. I prefer the puzzles where you have to put the pieces together rather than math, just because I don't know. With math with some people, it's either you can do it or you can't, and I don't know. I feel like people just they're great and they're fine, or they're just terrible and they can't do it, and there's no coming back from it.
Yeah.
So, and especially like in this, if you get it wrong, you get 3 chances to get it right. But if you don't get it on the first try, you're probably not going to get it on the second or third because it means you did the math wrong. So you just be guessing at that point, and it's highly unlikely you're ever going to get it on a second or third try. And then you have to go up 22 flights of stairs, which is absolutely brutal. So if you have to go back up those stairs, you're basically going to be last place unless another team has to do the same thing.
I thought of this, you're so bad at math. You try the first time, and you're like, oh, shit, I'm fucked. I'm going to run back up the stairs. You run up 15 flight of stairs, and you're like, whoa, what's happening here? Do you get it? He's wrong at math at all times.
Oh, yeah. Instructions were unclear.
They can't count. All right, so let's get on to Kyland and Azah. They go. I didn't write notes for everyone who went. I just whatever stood out. Kyland is like, and he's from Big Brother. He's like, I watched the last 10 seasons of the challenge and found out who won, and I studied what they did to win. I'm like, that's fucking awesome.
I know. I thought that was brilliant. I was like, that's really great, because if I would have done it, I would have just watched the 10 seasons and then been surprised by the winner each time. But it's a lot smarter if you're studying for it to know who's going to win. Then that way you can kind of mold your game after how the winners did it, you know? Yeah. Obviously, you're going to have to win eliminations or challenges, but to see how the social part of the game is played, very smart.
That's all cool and everything, but he gets his math thing wrong. Him and Azah, I think her name is Aza, maybe. Zigga Zigga. But they have to run back up and they have to come back down, and that's when Azah almost passes out. Remember that shit?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're the only ones that have to run up the stairs too, by the way. It's crazy. Next I have Shannon was scared. She's like a blonde chick. Mm-hmm. She was scared. She was like, I was doing push-ups and I could barely do a push-up. I'm out of breath. I'm freaking out, right? And she's like, I don't want to be here and stuff like that. And then she looks at herself in the reflection of the building, and all of a sudden she's like, oh my god, I feel better now. I look hot. And then she finishes and she's like, I feel great now, and she starts twerking. It's like, wow. I feel like there's a generational gap here where I'm like, is this what we do when we believe in ourselves? We have to look at ourselves first? I don't know.
Yeah, she needed to take a selfie, and then she got her confidence back. She's ready to go.
She's like, this is the world's first selfie, looking in a reflection of something.
Yeah.
Originally it was a pool of water.
Where's the like button?
Yeah. Alright, let's see here. Someone screams as they fall on top of the building. Oh yeah, that's right. Someone was getting lowered, and at the very beginning, they fell to their left, they fell to their side.
Yeah.
And she let out this blood-curdling scream, but she landed on the building.
I was terrified that, like, the pulley system that they were attached to, like, broke, and that they were going to be dangling there, and I was like, oh my gosh, it is week 1, and they screwed it up already, someone's going to die.
Tyson and Angela. Angela, I just have her, she does stunt training. She wants to be a movie actress or something? Like, I don't know, that sounds cool. In fact, she kind of wins me over, or at least has my interest by this episode. Do you remember this?
She seems pretty athletic. She said she does other stuff too.
Yeah, a bunch. Is it MMA? Maybe?
Maybe.
No, that's someone else.
That was Sarah, I think.
Yeah, the cap. And the cap. I'll pull you over to me quota.
Do you know anything about Sarah? Oh, okay. She was very famous from Survivor.
Yeah.
All of her seasons, she was, at least the couple seasons I saw her in, she was always paired with Tony. Tony is also a cop from New York, Boston area, somewhere in the Northeast. And Tony won his seasons, and she was always the number 2 to Tony. So she'd get to the final, like, vote with, like, the final 3 people or 4 people or whatever it is. And she'd always lose the vote to Tony because Tony was, like, the mastermind. But she would always say, like, I'm not second fiddle to him. We're a partner. We're equals. But everyone, like, watching is like, no, you're second fiddle. Like, for you to be here this entire season and still think of your, like, no. Like, she was very good, but she was kind of just aligned with the best person in the game. And, I mean, no votes were rarely ever going her way because of her alliance. Not to say that she's a bad competitor, because she is a good competitor. But just on Survivor, she was always the number 2. So, you know, she's looking now for a little bit of redemption to try and, you know, like, hey, I can be the number 1.
So, like Tyson, she's a multi-Survivor contestant?
Yes, she's been on multiple seasons, just like...
Wow.
What's his name? Tony?
Tyson. Yeah. Because back in the day, I never heard of that. Although I only watched like the first handful of seasons.
They started doing like all-star seasons and like vets versus rookies or something like that. Tyson's been on like 4 seasons, I think.
Jesus. Speaking of Tyson, how do you feel about him? Do you believe in him? Is he going to win this whole fucking thing?
I don't think he's going to win at all. I think he's really good, but I just don't like his personality. I think his personality kind of rubs people the wrong way sometimes. Kind of like Wes in a way, where like you respect the competitor, but he's kind of a sleaze in some ways, where he's really good at the game, but he just rubs people the wrong way, I feel like sometimes, because he'll be really cool and he's really chill and he's like, just everything's fine with him, but the second like somebody like tries to backstab him or do something behind his back and he's not aware of it, he will suddenly kind of just like come out of nowhere and you're like, oh shit, like he's really upset and he's angry and this is like a different side to him that you suddenly see. And then when people see that other side when he's angry, they're like, oh, this is not you're not the person I thought you were. So he can kind of rub people the wrong way sometimes. And I specifically remember one of the reasons I don't like Tyson. There was a family visit on Survivor, and like his wife or girlfriend shows up with like their daughter who's like 7 or 8 years old. And the daughter did not give a shit at all about seeing him. Like, just wanted to hang out with mom. Like, didn't give a shit about dad. And I was like, oh, this is a little telling right here. Like, this kid doesn't even give a shit about him. Like, is he a bad dad? Is he an absentee dad? Like, I don't know what's going on. But I just got bad vibes from that family visit when he saw his kid, and his kid didn't really seem to give a crap about him.
Wow. Yeah, sometimes you can tell from... Yeah, that can be very telling sometimes. I've seen that shit. Yeah, really. Oh.
And it's like watching like 4 seasons and like picking out like 2 or 3 moments where you didn't like them and then just magnifying those moments. Like, that's what I'm doing. Yeah. But like, that's me trying to pick flaws in him. Like, he's very athletic. He's incredibly smart. Politically, he's always smart. He aligns himself with really good players. He's gonna be amazing at this game.
So why do you... Okay, is there someone who you're like, oh, they're going to beat Tyson? Is there someone that you have your eye on?
I think Danny.
Who's that?
Black guy with dreadlocks from Survivor.
Was he the football player?
Yeah. Played for the Cowboys.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
He is the best. Like, he's my favorite person on this season, I think. He's just, like, one of the nicest people ever. Super genuine. Everybody likes him. He's super loyal, and he's a great competitor. Like, he's all around. Like, it could get him into trouble because he's such a good player that people could target him because they're going to be afraid of him in a final or in an elimination.
Yeah, isn't he with someone that his wife told him don't be around her, and now he's partnered with her?
Yeah,
but thanks to the algorithm, they're never going to work together again.
Yeah.
Supposedly. All right. Next to Enzo and Sarah. Enzo I know as from Big Brother. I always considered him to be like the Dollar Tree version of CT.
Yeah? I don't remember who Enzo is.
But that is just by like a couple of minutes where I'm like, I want to make a joke here. And yeah, because he's like, hey, whoa, what the fuck? You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, that's how CT is, but you ain't no CT. But I don't really know how he is. I really don't. I know that he's good enough to make an impression because I do remember the few episodes that I watched of Big Brother. So yeah, he's on here. I think he made the top 4 that season, something like that. It wasn't part of the cookout season. I think he's from something before that. But I wanted to bring up Sarah. She was the Cap. I'm a Cap. We're like, you mean cop with an O? She's like, nah, Cap. But she's also cool because apparently she's been in MMA and she's a marathon runner, you know? So
I feel like those 2 things are way in her past.
And
she doesn't seem overly athletic to me at all. Like,
more importantly, she turns her body cams off.
Yeah. You don't have to delete the footage if it doesn't exist.
Moving on to Tyson and Angela Wynn. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Apparently the winners, there was like 3 in contention within 17 seconds, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember the teams?
No.
I don't either.
But, like, I felt like doing this with, like, the best time wins, like, it was going to come down to, like, just seconds because, like, it seemed like you could only go down the side of that building so fast.
Yeah.
No matter how fast you're rappelling, it's, you know, you can only go so fast because they're not going to let you free fall, and you have to kind of slow down to look at the numbers a little bit. And then once you're putting the numbers into that, you know, where you're doing the crank and locking it in, there's not a whole, it's not like you had to like run up the stairs first and like that's going to be added to your time. That's one thing I thought they could have done.
Yeah.
You remember, what season was it, Free Agents, where they had them all like chained together and they all had to run up the building at the beginning?
Yeah.
And like, wasn't Bananas like pushing Kara and like
He
choking
had her
her
in
and
a
stuff?
headlock.
Oh, headlock.
The
Worse than I remember.
The Challenge's favorite poster boy put a woman in a headlock on Free Agents, everybody. Let's just remember that. Among other shit. Yeah.
Are you saying he's a little misogynistic?
Not at all. Not a little.
He doesn't discriminate at all. He doesn't care. Man, woman, child. He'll put you in a headlock. Yeah, I thought they could have done that, and that would have like made the times a little, you know, adds a little something to it. But
yeah. Aza or Azah, I don't know. Kyland are last, so they're going to go into elimination. Next to have basically, since Tyson is from Survivor and Angela is from Big Brother, they aren't going to throw in combinations. That's the big thing going around the house. They're like, well, it's clearly going to be Amazing Race if there's two involved, or Love Island. At the bar, I have Love Island. They all twerk to show they deserve to be in the game. They want to be taken seriously.
So I'm pretty sure Love Island is basically the Are You the One
oh my god
of this season. You remember when all the Are You the One kids showed up and we're all just like, no, like we need people from the real world or Road Rules, like Are You the One, like you don't belong. Like that's what Love Island seems to be.
Is this our first ever Love Island contestant? I thought we had another one.
I feel like there's been a couple.
Right? Okay, yeah. That I was like, am I crazy, or we've had Love Island? Have we had Amazing Race? I thought we had at least one. Does this sound right? Yeah. So I think none of this is really new.
Yeah, I'm sure there's been a couple, but like this season it's like overload, you know, where we got like 4 or 5 people from these shows.
Next I have, the elimination. Not so fast. How do you feel about this being something we as grizzled veterans recognize as, yeah, we've seen this before. Who gives a fuck? Show me something new.
Oh, I like it. This is one of my favorite eliminations. I love them tying the knots with the rope. However, the rope is just way too big and way too heavy because it really just turns into this endurance thing and strength thing when it should be more about like tying an intricate knot. But like they can't even do a good knot because the rope is so damn heavy and trying to move it, especially like both of the girls competing in this elimination, they both like weigh like 110 pounds. Their arms are just, they're sticks. They're skinny.
Yeah.
Like they can barely move this rope. I feel bad for, like, I feel like the rope should have just been smaller, more manageable to move.
The origin, the main inspiration for this was in the ruins. When Wes and Kata went, their ropes were a lot thinner. And their elimination went a lot faster. Like, sure, they didn't have to... They just had to unspool it. They didn't have to, like, go up and then redo it again. But the same thing would apply. They could still rely on speed. That's what made it cool. Ever since then, it's been big-ass ropes.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing, though, like I said, for me, I'm like, I've seen this, man. Like, I realize that this is for a bunch of new fans. But this kind of reminds me of Champs versus Pros and Champs versus Stars, where like they would just make them do shit we've already seen.
But
challenge staples, but
but it's like you said, it's a challenge staple. Right, so like, be prepared for a pole wrestle and probably a hall brawl.
I feel like I'm grouchy as a conservative, but I'm not a conservative. I actually want to see new shit all the time. So. Who am I, Bernie Sanders? I don't know. Yeah. What does he change? Alright, so let's move on. Aza and Kaylin defeat Javoni and Chelly. I don't know, Sully?
Yeah, Sully, I think.
James says, he's like, I convinced Tyson to spare me and Shannon. I don't know. There was a lot of room for that James dude from Amazing Race. It's like, I am manipulating people and shit like that.
I really like him.
Was he manipulating, or you know?
I mean, he was definitely trying to politic, and he was trying to as much as he could. And I don't know how much it really affected things, but it did kind of seem like it, because Tyson did say, you know, if he wants to work with me, that's okay. He's like, now he owes me big time. He's like, I'll use this in the future.
It's true.
So maybe he wasn't going to get picked, but now Tyson's at least going to use that to his advantage in the future.
Yeah. Before this happens, oh my god, Giovanni and Sally try to get in the heads of Asa and Kyland by they're trying to do their pre-interview, Kyland and Asa. But on the side, Giovanni and Sally are shouting. They're like, "Hey, we're gonna tear you apart!" Like we didn't have to run up an extra flight of stairs or something like that, right? It reminded me of Abe in Bloodlines. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
When he was getting in their heads, the twins.
Yeah.
They were trying to do their interview, but they were just like, "What the fuck?" You know? It's mental warfare, which I appreciated. Yeah. It's nice. Next, I have winner gets loser's cash deposited in their account. This is very much like the Ruins to me, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I thought Kyland, is that his name?
Yeah.
Oh, the winner. He was really good. I was really impressed by him. You know, not getting the math thing and having to go up the stairs, I was like, oh, this guy's a chump. But watching him in the elimination, I was like, he really seemed to carry his team. You know, what was it, Shannon? Or
Asa. Or Asa. I don't know.
Yeah. Like, she was so, like, scrawny that, like, she could barely handle the rope. But he did really awesome. I thought, you know, he won it.
Yeah, she said that even though they were part of the cookout, that alliance anyways, they didn't get along. Like, interesting. But it doesn't matter. They win. They get some $1,000 extra. They have $2,000 now. And then the algorithm is introduced. You can't have the same partner more than whatever. We talked about that.
It was funny, like TJ, like, you know, moves something out of the way, and then you see like a board with all their names on it. It reminded me of like Price is Right or something. Like, I didn't know.
Yeah,
it's a showcase showdown.
All the numbers were blinking and or names were blinking, and like one guy was no way, but I'm like, you don't know what it fucking is. Like, this is your names.
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know, when I was watching the episode, this is before the ending, I felt like, well, this is interesting, but I'm like, I know at some point of the season they're going to switch things up with the teams, and they're all of a sudden going to be in 2 giant teams of 2, or move them into 3 cells, and you'll have a ruby cell and a sapphire cell, and like something like that. Like, that's what I was afraid of. But once TJ introduced this, I'm like, okay, like maybe they're just going to stick with the algorithm, and that's, you know, you're always going to switch partners every mission. Okay. I'm like, I'm good with that. Just don't, like, throw it into 2 big teams or 3 big teams. Just leave it the same the entire season.
Yeah. Well, overall, yeah. Well, we already talked about our overall feelings about the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not bad. Like I said, I wish the elimination was new, but who gives a fuck? You know, that's just me. That's grouchy old Vince saying like, "God damn it!
Back in my day, we got to see new things, and now we just see old recycled things."
Yeah, and all these fans are thinking we're one note, but how would they know if this is their first episode? I just complain within myself and argue with myself. But yeah, that was episode 1 of Challenge USA.
Yeah.
I wish we could watch the other ones.
Yeah.
We don't know if it's recorded
concurrently, like at the same time, where you're like, oh, let's see episode 1 of Challenge UK or Challenge Brazil or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah. I'd watch it with subtitles. I wouldn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck. Yeah. All right. Well, that's the end of the episode. Like, subscribe, comment. This was Battle of the Challenges podcast with Vincent Clapp
and Famous Dave.
Click.